Because I entered through one door, exited through the other. What, 1,000 years, 2,000 years, how it feels. This is how quick the world is. The fairy tale that you're told. You know, when you're a child, you get told fairy tales. You're taught what? You're taught the story of Cinderella, Snow White. Every Brothers Grimm or Hans, what's it called? Hans Christian Andersen, these authors and all their books that they used to write. And it always ends with what? And they lived happily ever after. And you actually sold this lie. People actually believe this, and it's always been a fable. It's just like the human rights lie that you're sold every day. In the West, we have human rights. We care about the rights of humans, and yet they all supported the indiscriminate pager attack. This was okay. Doesn't matter if children were killed. Doesn't matter if innocent bystanders were killed. It's okay. Human rights get thrown out the window unless you're Western, Anglo-Saxon, Protestant, or the ones that they like. Other than that, you have no rights. You know, one of the things that I used to find funny was the Titanic, that there was 3 dogs that were survivors. Did you know that? 3 dogs survived in the Titanic. And poor Jack couldn't even float on a board. He had to sink into the ocean. So 3 dogs survived the Titanic. Could you imagine that? And they lived. They were saved, and there was people that drowned. This is the human rights that you think about. Another thing for you to think about human rights, a lot of you are very young, so you won't remember 20 years ago there was this evil terrorist organization called Al-Qaeda, and the West just wanted to rid us of Al-Qaeda. Now Al-Qaeda runs 2 countries, Afghanistan, Syria, and they're almost running a third. You know, in Pakistan, they're halfway there. They're almost running. So you got almost three countries that Al-Qaeda runs. Yet 20 years ago, they'll tell you they were terrorists. So this is the human rights lie. This is the world that we live in. The thing is, why is it like this? It's God showing you how petty this world is, how valueless this world is. You see 2 kids playing with a toy, and they start fighting. Sometimes kids will fight over the box of a toy. You know what I mean? The box, they'll fight. They want to play inside the box. You know, sometimes, you might get a box of nappies. Take the nappies out, and the kids are fighting to play in the box of nappies, and they'll kill each other over it. And you look at them and say, look how petty they are. They're fighting over a box of nappies. And it's why? Because we're older and we have a higher level. We have a higher understanding. Yet, awliyaullah, the ones nearer to God, they look at us in the same way. Look at these petty people fighting over this dunya, this world. People striving to be something in this world that has no benefit whatsoever. How is it that we love this world, and why do we cling to it? Why is it our deepest love? The only way to remove this, you need to raise your horizons, raise your level, and then you'll see it for what it is. You'll understand it for what it is. Problem is, we use this world for what? We use this world for what we want it to be, not what it really is. You know, like the statement, if I put a piece of glass in the hand of a baboon, in the hand of a monkey, okay, and I said, or a hand of anyone, but I should say for a monkey, it's holding a piece of glass, and I convinced people that it's a diamond or it's a gem, does it become a diamond? No, it's a piece of glass. It doesn't change. Doesn't matter where. It doesn't matter what value. The reason I said the hand of a monkey, the hand of a baboon, is to say this is how this world is. It's something of no value. It's something of no value. Why? Because it's not permanent. That's why it's of no value. It's transient, it passes. Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam, when he mentions this world, he says, this world, inna dunyakum azhadu indi. He said, is less to me than the bone of a pig in the hand of a leper. This is less. In other words, the bone of a pig in the hand of a leper. A leper, for those that don't know, is a person they don't exist anymore. They call it now, I think they call it Hansen's disease. This world's now politically correct. Everything has some weird name. It used to be called leprosy. I don't know. People get offended now if you say leprosy. Oh, dear God, it's Hansen's disease. But anyway, their skin falls off. Like, not their skin, parts of their body, chunks come out. It was a very bad disease. And if someone had leprosy, it was highly contagious. So you had leprosy, you were driven out of the community. People would keep away from you. So the Imam says, the dunya for me is worth less than the bone of a pig in the hand of a leper. That's how much. Worth nothing. But we want this world to be perfect. We do. We want it to be perfect. But it isn't really. You look at the things, when I achieve an objective, say you want something, say you're going on a holiday, how excited are you? Once it's done, you feel unfulfilled afterwards. You want to get to a goal. Once you get to that goal, you want the next goal. You want what's coming up next. You're never really becoming fulfilled. You run and you never achieve the next goal. You only realize it once you get there. It doesn't have that same effect. I got this lesson early in my life. I was about 18 years old. I had a friend, he had a pizza shop. He said to me, sorry, he worked at a pizza shop. He worked for somebody. Back then I was young and naive. So when I turned up, he said, can you help me with the deliveries? And I said, oh, look, yeah, some of the things I can't deal with. He just goes, help me with what you can, you know. So I came to help him. Then the owner of the shop rocked up. And he rocked up. This is 1997. This guy rocked up in a 355 convertible Spider, Ferrari convertible. Now, 1997 Ferrari now still goes for $300,000. So imagine back then, this car, he rocks up, and you know, Ferrari. You used to get happy if you had a keychain with a Ferrari emblem on it. You know what I mean? You had a Ferrari hat, you were happy. You know, Ferrari. This guy had a Ferrari. And he got out of the car, and we were all looking at, like, you know, like the way someone looks at when a celebrity walks past. They get happy. Oh, God, this guy's really here now, you know? You know, have you ever seen, like, for example, if Lamine Yamal was to walk in to there, everyone would just go, oh, what's he doing here? They get so excited. It was like that. A Ferrari turned up. We were, oh, Ferrari. And then he turns around and he says, it's rubbish. I think I'm going to get a 550 Maranello. This isn't good enough. And I was going, if I had this, all my dreams would be complete. But at that point, I realized that's what he was thinking before he bought that car. And later, another point hit me because I was naive. I said, this guy had a little pizza shop. How did he afford a Ferrari? That's where I learnt the word front, where people had shops that were fronts for something else. But I didn't know that at the time. He wasn't doing too well. How did he afford the Ferrari? But that's another story. Okay, so you're left with no satisfaction and you're empty. So you keep running after the next thing until death overcomes you. You know, what are you doing? You're running like Forrest Gump. You're running with no destination. Keep run. You get nowhere. And you keep going in this direction and you have this emptiness. Absolute emptiness. Because you think that's what I need to look like. I need to be like this person, then my life would be perfect. My life would be fulfilled. That's why you see someone, they'll look at an influencer and they, oh my God. You know, I remember my son was going to me, see this guy. He says, A lot of people look at him and think this guy is every man aspires to be. And he shows me the most feminine looking man. And I go, who's this? He goes, they call him Marlon. I go, he looks like a woman. I go, he looks like a woman. And he goes, oh no, he's got a sharp jawline. And I go, and they're easier to hit. You know, what do you mean he's got a sharp jawline? But I go, he's feminine. This is what people start us. And the more idiotic you act, the more people start to follow you. You know what I mean? You say someone shows you, like, for example, I was talking to the boys about I show speed. Someone shows you this guy doing, okay, this guy belongs in a mental asylum. He's not normal. Yeah, people look at this and they find, all right, I want to aspire. And people say, how stupid can I be so I can be noticed? Why do they act like this? Because they want recognition. They want to be noticed. They want to exist in this world. And the thing is, they sin, and the more they sin, and the faster they sin, they only gain in thirst and hunger. They never, they sin like the one, like what I'm saying, the more they sin, all they're doing is running faster, like the one that fasts. The one that fasts, that sins while he's fasting, what happens? They just get hunger and thirst. Same thing. This dunya, you just get hungry and thirsty like when you're fasting. The ambitions do not materialize. They don't happen. What the ambitions they have, they never ever happen. The sixth holy Imam, Imam Ja'far ibn Muhammad al-Sadiq, salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi, salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. He says, مثل الدنيا كمثل ماء البحر. That the example of this dunya is like the water of the sea, of the ocean. He says, كلما شرب منه العطشان ازداد عطشا حتى يقتله. Every time you drink from the water of the sea, what happens? Your thirst increases. And you'll keep drinking and drinking until it kills you. Because you will never replenish your thirst with seawater. The dunya never fulfills you. That's why you look at, something that we have a lot of here that we don't have. When they tell you if you look at the top 10 best living countries, and then look at the top 10 countries with the most suicides, they're the same. How are these best countries to live in have so much suicide? How? If they're so good to live in, why is the suicide rate? And suicide rate's humongous. One person, you know how often, how big suicide rate is? One person every 40 seconds commits suicide. Every 40 seconds, a person in the world commits suicide. This is by the statistics of the World Health Organization. This is by what we know. Imagine the ones we don't know. And one person every 2 seconds attempts suicide. So 1 in every 20. So 1 in 2 seconds attempts suicide, 1 in 40. So 1 in every 20 are successful in committing suicide. Why do they top themselves if the life here is so good? Why do you see a celebrity get so high in position, the next second they kill themselves? Why? And there's the ones you never hear about. They found him dead in his house. No one knows why. They'll never tell you the story. You want to know why they never tell you the story? Go outside. If you go overseas, when you go outside in your villages, what do you see outside? Cemeteries. They're just there. If you go to the country towns out here, you'll see what? Cemeteries are right in the middle of the town. Do you know why? Because that's how it used to be. But if you go into the villages overseas, the cemeteries are in front of you. When someone dies, you have that ambulance driving past with the treble squeaking through your ears, reading Quran, and they're coming through announcing dead person. You see dead bodies overseas. Here, like that's why you see white lady funerals, and it's got this woman with a hat down and she's smelling a rose. Because you're not allowed to show coffins here. You know that? In Australia, you're not allowed. Why can't you show coffins? Because you can't remind people about death. You can't remind people about the reality of the dunya. Because they don't want you to think about it. It's not about even allowed to be bought here. They want you to be absorbed in this world. That's why the love of this world is what brings about destruction. When we read in Shahr Ramadan al-Mubarak, Dua Abi Hamza Thamari, a lot of du'as like this. We say, Sayyidi, akhrij hubba dunya min qalbi. Take the love of this world from my heart. Because this is where I'm going to be brought into destruction. So what is the dunya for? You want to talk about the beauty of dunya? What's the beauty of dunya? You will find the best statement is made by Amir al-Mu'mineen, Ali ibn Abi Talib, salawatullahi wa salamu alayh. He says what the dunya is. He says, Inna dunya daru sidqin liman sadaqaha wa daru afiyatin liman fahima anha. The dunya is true to the truthful. Those that use the dunya for what it is, brilliant. You use the dunya for what it is. It's a temporary place. Imagine, what do I mean? The dunya, imagine right now you lease a house. You lease a house. Would you renovate it? Would you renovate a house that you lease? Oh. Why? Because it's leased. The dunya is transient. That I've come in, I deal with what I have. That's what I've been given, I deal with it. If you use the dunya for what it's not, that brings about your destruction. End the story. Take a look at everyone that chased the dunya, what happened to them. Now, a lot of the times, people don't understand that. What is it that made the people the way that they were? The dunya. It's always, the pivot is the dunya. Why did this person, have a look at all the crimes. Why did this person kill that person? Dunya. Something dunya. There was nothing. When only the mu'mineen, in situations where it's warranted, do something because of religion. Other than that, most of the crimes that are committed because of dunya. And he says, وَدَارُ عَافِيَةٍ لِمَنْ فَهِمَ عَنْهَا. It's a world of good well-being if you understand from it. You understand what it is, you'll be happy. You don't have problems. When you're happy, because you know what it is. You know what it is. If I told you, like, for example, you're playing a game. Your life, you get weaker, and your head, you go, I want to respawn. You don't care. I want to respawn. They can kill me, I'm coming back. This is the dunya. Once you're done, you're respawning, but you're going to respawn. And I like to use this word, you're going to be coming in God mode, as they call it. You're going to be untouchable when you come back. It's like that Korean player that comes in that game of COD and is untouched. That's how you're going to be. You're going to become unscathed. You're going to walk through everyone. Right from the very beginning. No one's going to touch you. You're going to walk through. You're going to walk and people are going to be in awe of you. Odin has joined us. This is what's going to happen when you come into the game. This is what happens when you leave the dunya. You become untouchable. You're not going to be scratched anymore. وَدَارُ غِنًى لِمَنْ تَزَوَّدَ مِنْهَا. It's daru ghinan. It's a world of needlessness and wealth for those that what? تَزَوَّدُ عَنْهَا. Now, زَوَّدُ مِنْهَا. Like, this is basically your tilth. You know what your tilth is? You're not in a farm. You have the fertile land that you cultivate, you plant in. This is what the dunya is. You're in the season of cultivation. The hereafter is the harvest. It's where you reap. Here's where you do all the hard yards. This is where you do all the work. Okay? Basically, if you've done everything you move, this is where the other world is where you eat. Now you're hunting, you're foraging. Over there is where you get the result. He says, وَدَارُ مَوْعِظَةٍ لِمَنْ اتَّعَظَ مِنْهَا اتَّعَظَ بِهَا. The dunya, it gives you warnings and advice for those that take advice. How? It exhausts us with what? It teaches us with what? Wealth and poverty. You see how wealth brings destruction and poverty brings destruction if they're not dealt with properly. You see an old person, you say to yourself, what? One day I'm going to be old. You know, like sometimes you'll sit there and like my kids will say, all right, let's play a game of football. You go play with them. Football, soccer, football, I call it, you know. So I go play football with them and I'm running around with them and then they get home, they're all right. And then you go, man, I think I overran this. Because you don't realize your body's not running like it starts running when you get older. It's not the same. You're running around, you're jumping, you feel all right. Then it kicks in. You're not meant to be doing what they're doing. They're kids. They fall. You say a kid falls over. Well, you're all young. You're kids. No offense. I don't mean it. You know, you fall over, you scratch your knees, you rub it off, you keep going. That's it. Done. You know? It's different when you get older. And the older you get, it's different. You might be so infatuated and self-absorbed with your health. Then you see those that are sick. I remember one of the brothers I know, he used to be one of the strongest people I knew. Physical strength, abnormal. He got involved in a hunting accident. And he said to me after that, just a hunting accident. He goes to me, I've lost all that strength I had. And I said, don't worry, you'll get it in the hereafter. It's gone now. You had it for the moment, you had it, it's gone. But that's the dunya, it shows you. You become sick. The strength. Have you ever seen those people that are healthy, then they get far from you? Inshallah, Allah keeps you in the best of health. They get cancer. You know, people are scared to even say it. They say, Marad al-Ba'id, you know. They'll say the other disease. The one it becomes like Voldemort. They don't even want to mention its name. So they'll say this because they don't even want you. You notice when they cop it, what happens? They become weak. And you see that one day this vibrant and healthy person becomes weak and deficient. It sucks their life from them. So you start to understand the dunya, that my youth will go one day. My health will go one day. And when you see, it's very important to see a dead body when they're washing them. And they bury, especially watching Islamic burial, you're actually watching, they're putting a human in the earth. You watch it and you say, my life will one day be taken. And when you get, that is reality. That is realism. And then you start to understand what it is. What is the dunya then? The Imam says, Masjidu ahibba'illah wa musalla malaikatillah. Masjid. It's the place where the ones that love Allah have as a place of worship. They prostrate to God in it. So if someone asks you, what is the dunya? Say, Masjid ahibba'illah. It's a place where I worship God. Wa musalla malaikatillah. It's a place where the angels worship Allah. Wa mahbitu wahyillah. It's a place where the revelation of Allah Azza wa Jal came down. Now, why is it important for me to see the dunya for what it is? What's it so important? Because I can't have this false image that I'm given of the dunya. These false standards that I want to live by, that I can never have. They can never be achieved. They put them there, they show you these false things, and you say, I want to achieve this goal, but it's not there. You know, if I have this, I'll be happier. And one task I do with my kids, it's nice, just think of this in your head. I tell them right now, if I gave you $1, what would you do? What would you do if I gave you $1? I say, I put it in the sadaqah. Like, all right, if I gave you $10, what would you do? Now we're talking. Depends. The young ones start talking, but the older ones, you know, they've upped their game. $10 is like, you know, add another zero first. Then you ask them, all right, if I give you $100, what would you do? I keep adding a zero. 1,000. Do you know, you keep going, they have something to do with the money. But the standards change all of a sudden. The way they decide, you know, they start to give you financial advice in a second. You know, what they're going to do with this money, are they going to invest? But you're never going to be satiated. You'll never be satisfied. You want evidence? Take a look at the richest people in the world. Do they stop chasing money? Have they ever stopped chasing money? Never. Because when you chase the dunya, you never stop. You're never happy. What do you think people do? You know, people do, like first they start off, they'll go get a Botox injection. Then they'll get some fillers. Then they'll get one, they start changing one thing and then another. Before you know it, you know, they start putting silicone all over the place. They'll put it under their feet tomorrow. They'll put it anywhere they can. Why? Because they think the more I morph myself, the more I'm going to be accepted. And before you know it, the whole world's morphed. You know, the whole world looks like a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle. And that's all you're looking at everywhere. And you go, what's the purpose? What's the point? And they've taken this away. And the value of a human being suddenly disappears on what you actually are. The Imam then says, عَجِبْتُ لِمَنْ رَأَى الدُّنْيَا, the one that sees the dunya. I am amazed at the one that sees the dunya. وَتَقَلُّبُهَا بِأَهْلِهَا. Taqallubuha means its instability, its unpredictability. Or sorry, it being, I don't think that's a word, unpredictability. It could be. It's how unpredictable it is. Its instability and how unpredictable it is. I don't know if unpredictability is a word. I'm not an English teacher. But anyway, how unpredictable the dunya is and its transformation, he says, taqallubuha bi ahliha. That the way the dunya switches, like you could see, I'll show you a good example. 20 years ago, this Abu Muhammad Julani was on a FBI poster boy, you know, terrorist wanted at all costs, and he's chilling with Trump now. You know, they're both having a bit of bubbly, enjoying their time together. You know what I mean? So first, look where he was, look where he is now. That's how the dunya is. Then the Imam says, كَيْفَ يَرْكَنُوا إِلَيْهَا. How does this person place trust in the dunya? How do you place trust in the dunya? Could you imagine you're on the edge of a cliff and there is a tree there, but this tree keeps moving? Would you lean in the direction of the tree? You go, I'm going to fall off this cliff. The dunya keeps changing. What's in vogue changes from today to tomorrow. Like yesterday, you go 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, people thought Peter Dutton is the incumbent prime minister. Not only did he lose the election, he lost his own seat. Who could have imagined that? I wouldn't believe. I still remember the first time Trump was elected into office. I didn't believe he won. I thought it was a joke. I said, this is impossible. But this is the way the dunya is. You don't know what's going to happen. You don't know what's next. You don't know what's going to happen. So the Imam says, how do you trust something that is unpredictable, that always changes? How do people place trust in this world? Take a look at Umar ibn Sa'd. You honestly, when you think of Ashab al-Imam al-Hussein and the enemies of Ahl al-Bayt, they weren't people that just suddenly made a decision. It's a build-up. It's a build-up of bad decisions. So Umar ibn Sa'd had a lot of trust in this world, and he didn't even get it. See, Umar ibn Sa'd sold on the day of Ashura to kill Imam Hussein. He sold his akhirah for mulk al-Ray. Ray, if you want to know where Ray is, anyone's been to Tehran, or you visit Abdul Azim al-Hassani, salam Allah alayhi, the great-grandson of great-great-grandson of Imam Hassan alayhi salam. Because that's the area, that big province of Tehran, within it, that was right. It's very beautiful. That's what he was going to be given for killing Imam Hussein. And he had the paper for this. Ubaydullah bin Ziyad, when he sent Shimr ibn al-Jawshan to Karbala, one of the tasks Shimr was sent for was to steal this paper and destroy it. So Umar ibn Sa'ad doesn't have evidence that he has this. So Umar ibn Sa'ad lost the dunya and he lost the akhirah. So when you chase the dunya, you don't get it. You never get it. You can sit there and fight for it. You won't get it. Because it's not for you. It won't come to you. The dunya has been made for who? For no one. The dunya is made to end. It's not made to stay. Your whole life is going to be like this. A battle between the dunya and the akhirah. Your job is to put the akhirah before the dunya, which means what? It doesn't mean that I don't go get a job. I'm not allowed to have the nicer things in life. Doesn't mean not to have this. It just means that I put the akhirah first. If I have to choose between the dunya and the akhirah, I choose the akhirah. Why? This is logical. Because the akhirah is permanent. The dunya is transient. The akhirah is forever. The dunya is only for the moment you live in. So if I get too submerged in this world and I try and follow what this world wants, this world can change in a moment. What I want suddenly becomes different. Before you know it, whatever's in vogue, like what's in fashion today, will not be tomorrow. It will absolutely change. Ask Allah Azza wa Jal to take the love of this world out of our hearts and to place within our hearts the love for Allah and His Messenger and the Ahlul Bayt, Salamullah alayhim ajmain, especially for our Master, Al-Hujjat ibn al-Hasan arwahuna fida, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad, Allahumma kulli waliyika al-Hujjat ibn al-Hasan, صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا محافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا معينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. And for the souls of all those that have passed from this center and all those that are related to those that are present tonight, we ask you all to recite Surah مباركة الفاتحة مسبوقة بالصلاة على محمد وآل محمد.